Yo, what's going on, ladies and gents? My name is Arbuckle. Welcome back to another gun guide. Today we are once again back on Modern Warfare, and I wanted to share with you guys the best class setup for the AK-47 assault rifle. So this is a very interesting gun. I know a lot of people have enjoyed using this over the last couple of weeks since the game released, and it can be very annoying, especially without any attachments. So hopefully with this video, I'll give you guys the right attachments that you can use to hopefully do much better with this weapon. So if you guys take a look at the stats in the bottom left, you guys can see that my main focus with this weapon was the accuracy, and from my experience using this thing, I think that the accuracy is the most important. I think that it already has significant damage. It's got decent range. You can see that our mobility has dropped significantly with the attachments, and the reason for that is because this isn't a very aggressive weapon. I tend to play more defensive and kind of sit back more. This isn't one of those guns that you want to just rush around in the enemy spawn with. It can be quite difficult. It's kind of more of a slow moving gun, so I would assume that most players would play a little bit more defensive with this thing, so the mobility really isn't too important, but my main focus was accuracy. You can see we've got significant damage, range, and control buff, so hopefully this gun will be good for you guys. So as you'll see in the attachments, we're not using a muzzle. The barrel that we're using is the 23-inch Romanian. This thing is amazing. You guys can see this buffs the accuracy, range, and control, giving us damage, range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. This is mainly what's going to hurt our mobility the most out of all the attachments that we're going to be running. However, having that accuracy and range is going to help us out in the long run, so it's kind of worth using it. We're not going to be using a laser sight. As most of you guys know, I don't like using lasers to give away my position. Optic, I'm going to be using the GI Mini Reflex. You can use whatever reflex you really want. Just make sure that you're not sacrificing anything too important. As you scroll through, you'll find what each one does. But I generally tend to stick to the mini reflexes. I'm not using the Cronin, and the reason for that is if you look at the stats, you really don't get a whole lot of anything with the Cronin, and I don't really like the Cronin on the AK. I think the gun is so big and that reflex sticks up too high, so I like running that mini reflex. Obviously it's going to give me a little bit of an accuracy boost, so it's nice to have. For the stock, I'm going to be running the Field LMG stock, which is actually the first one you get. And the reason that I'm running this one is to actually buff my control a little bit. I wanted to get my control up because obviously we're trying to have better accuracy and do well with the weapon. And we don't want to, we're already losing a lot of mobility, so we don't want to lose a lot of control as well. If you go through some of these, obviously a lot of these are meant for mobility. You'll see that the stats go up significantly. But again, this gun is not very important when it comes to mobility, so we're just not going to worry about that. We're going to be rocking the Field LMG stock. I'm not going to be using an underbarrel. I'm not going to be using any extra ammunition. Rear grip, I'm using the rubberized grip tape. You'll see that this is what gives us another significant boost in accuracy, which was my main priority with this class setup, so that's why I'm running that. If you guys look at the other two, they actually hurt our accuracy. We buff our control a little bit with the granulated grip tape, or however you want to say that. And the stippled grip tape is mainly for mobility, so we're sticking with the rubberized for this class. And perk wise, I thought a lot about this. There's really nothing on here that I think is significant with the AK besides FMJ. Being able to shoot through walls with this thing is great, especially with the assault rifles. It's always nice to be able to do that. If you're shooting at someone that's running away or running through a doorway, it's nice to have FMJ so you can shoot through there. But again, the stats are in the bottom left. So the secondary we're running is actually the shotgun, and the reason for that is because, like I said, this gun is more of a defensive AR. So when we get in those really close quarters combat situations or those close quarters gunfights, we want to make sure that we have a shotgun because we want to be able to compete at those close quarters gunfights, because, you know, AK is not going to do very well from point blank. It's not an AK-74U, it's not an SMG, so we want to have that shotgun. You guys know this thing is annoying and does very well from up close, so it's always nice to have that as your secondary. Obviously, perk-wise, we're going to be running Overkill so that we can run that shotgun. Ghost is going to be our second perk. There's literally nothing else on here that's useful for this class setup, so Ghost is mainly my go-to anyways, so that kind of works out. And then the third perk we're going to be using is Amped, and the reason for that is the AK takes a while to swap weapons when you're going to your secondary, so being able to have faster weapon swap is going to be clutch if we do have to get in those quick close quarters gunfights. We'll be able to whip out that shotgun quicker and hopefully get the kill. So Amped for our third perk. Lethal, I'm going to be using Frag. You can run Claymore depending on how defensive you're going to play. If you're going to sit back in the spawn, then you can run a Claymore. You can kind of post up somewhere. But I like using the Frag just because I always like throwing them in the headquarters or the hard point or the domination B flag. So this one's not too important, but I like using the Frag. And then tactical, I'm using the snapshot grenade. I'm not using a flash or a stun because, again, I'm not playing that aggressive. So I'm going to use the snapshot so that I can just toss it into a building. Obviously, I'm going to play a little bit more slow pace, so throwing that snapshot in the building so I have an idea where people are, and that'll also be nice because we're running FMJ on this thing that'll just melt people through walls, so we can use that to our advantage. I'm using dead silence as my field upgrade or whatever. And it's very good. It works well. I pretty much run it with every class. I don't know what else to say. I'm sure a lot of you guys use it as well. But anyway, guys, that's it for today's video. That is the best AK-47 class setup that I have found. If you guys have any questions or any attachments that you like running, different playstyles that you use with the AK, leave them down in the comments. I'm interested to see what you guys use and what your class setup is. But make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see all you guys in the next video.